Okay, let's get right to it. It is Wednesday, June 24th. This is your Bring Me the News Novak Weather update. We'll be focusing on Friday, which is one of the first things that we need to look at. And then we're going to look into the weekend and the next week, which looks warm and humid. A little bit of foreshadowing there, but yeah, we'll be talking about that in this update. First things first, though, is the visible satellite loop, and this is really neat what we can see from outer space today. Right now, this view that you're seeing is from right around late this morning, somewhere between right around 11:30 this morning. And what I want you to focus on is look at some of the clear skies here over southeastern Minnesota, western Minnesota. In fact, much of Minnesota was clear, but you can see these already some bumpy showers that had developed over southeastern Minnesota late this morning, and also some developing up here near Lake Mille Lacs. But watch what happens as we put this satellite loop into motion. Of course, we start to bubble up some cumulus clouds because the atmosphere becomes unstable. We get the heating of the surface during the late morning and afternoon hours, and that creates an unstable atmosphere, and you get these puffy cumulus clouds that develop. Now, what is also really interesting is look at what happens as the cumulus clouds pass over an area. They leave a cool pool of air near the surface. So you can see one here with the clear skies. You can see one here in the northern Twin Cities metro, and then another one here in southeastern Minnesota near Rochester. Very interesting because the exhaust, for lack of a better word, from these showers that develop, it's a cool exhaust that comes from these clouds, these puffy cumulus clouds, and that creates a stable environment behind the areas that they had tracked over. So really interesting satellite picture today, and it really shows you the difference between a stable air mass and an unstable air mass that we have today, and it occurs in pockets. We're going to get out of this unstable environment as we get into the nighttime hours, which means our clouds will dissipate. All right, temperatures across the region, 70s for the most part across Minnesota, even some low 80s here in southwestern Minnesota. And take a peek out in South Dakota, it's 80s, lots of 80s in South Dakota. That air mass is going to be pushing east and northeast tomorrow, so that'll be our air mass for tomorrow over southern Minnesota. So be expecting 80s for most of us. In fact, this air mass should push over most, if not all, of Minnesota tomorrow. And you can also see as we zoom in a little bit, yeah, there still are showers out there. A few stronger ones over southeastern Minnesota late this afternoon and into early this evening. Of course, as these clouds dissipate, these showers will dissipate this evening also. And we should be dry from at least after sunset tonight into tomorrow morning, and much of the day tomorrow actually should be dry across Minnesota. All right, looking at this is the jet stream structure now from the NAM computer model guidance, and we're focusing on late tomorrow night. This is right around midnight tomorrow night and into early Friday morning. And the reason why I'm showing you this is, look, there is a jet streak now that develops over North Dakota and northwestern Minnesota by Friday morning. That places much of eastern South Dakota and about the southern half of Minnesota and portions of northwestern Wisconsin in a favorable area for shower and thunderstorm activity. Now, timing is going to be critical with this because I do expect severe thunderstorms to break out over South Dakota tomorrow evening and southeastern North Dakota, but they're going to be moving into a more stable environment over southern Minnesota on Friday morning. So if we can get these storms move through southern and central Minnesota on Friday morning, I think our opportunities for severe weather will decrease. Now, if these storms stall and they don't move into southern Minnesota until the afternoon hours, then our opportunities for severe weather will increase, especially over southeastern Minnesota and western Wisconsin. So again, timing is going to be everything with these thunderstorms as they move in to southern Minnesota. In fact, as we look at the NAM Nest computer model guidance and we look at the future radar, you can see that much of the day tomorrow now is going to be dry across Minnesota. Maybe some thunderstorms over northwestern Minnesota as we get into the afternoon hours. But then watch what happens as we get into tomorrow evening. I'm expecting a thunderstorm complex to develop over southeastern North Dakota and eastern South Dakota. And eventually this thunderstorm complex is going to move east into southern Minnesota. And again, if it moves through southern Minnesota during the early morning hours when our atmosphere is stable or becomes stable, then the likelihood of big rains and heavy thunderstorms will decrease as these thunderstorms would lose their intensity. Now, we'll be watching radar closely, of course, later tomorrow night and early Friday morning to see exactly how these storms evolve. But then watch what happens, by the way. Friday afternoon, more storms redevelop over southeastern corner of Minnesota and western Wisconsin. So, yeah, we're going to be sandwiched, the way it appears, in between two episodes of thunderstorms over southern Minnesota as we go into late tomorrow night and into Friday morning. Okay, here is the jet stream structure now as we look towards the weekend and early next week. Now, of course, a lot of people are probably going to be going up into the lakes country of Minnesota and Wisconsin as we go through the next 5 to 7 days and approach the July 4th holiday. But look at how our jet stream on the GFS computer model guidance surges well north of Minnesota into southern Canada. And again, geographically speaking, here's Minnesota. The jet stream, we have a large trough over the western United States, and that creates a surge to the north in the jet stream winds as they approach the northern plains and upper Midwest. Long story short, that means a warm bubble of air and humid bubble of air is going to encompass much of the central and southern portions of the United States, including the upper Midwest. And I'm expecting some pretty warm temperatures to surge north into Minnesota. In fact, looking at the low-level temperatures now, we look at them today, and you can see still a cold pool of air over the upper Midwest and Great Lakes, hence the reason why we have those cumulus clouds that develop in an unstable atmosphere. But watch as we go through time. Now, this is Thursday and Friday, and then the weekend. Look, our atmosphere is much warmer in the lower layers, hence the reason why I'm expecting warm temperatures not only at the surface, but then also up in our atmosphere. As you go up in our atmosphere, at least a lot warmer than it is today. And lo and behold, that warm air hangs around through much of next week. As we get in, we're likely going to be in the 80s and 90s over Minnesota and Wisconsin as we go through the next 5 to 10 days with this warm weather pattern holding in place even into the July 4th weekend. So lots of warm air to talk about. And if you are a fan of warm, humid air and the opportunity to sweat out there, you're going to like the next 7 to 10 day period. Or at least the next 10 days. Now, this is the European computer model guidance. This is the jet stream structure. Again, the river of air at 30,000 feet. And it shows the same thing. It shows the jet stream surging well north into Canada as we get into next week. So again, warm and moist air from the desert southwest, which would be warm, dry air, and the moist air from the Gulf of Mexico is going to surge north into the upper Midwest. We've been touting this now for several days, and it still looks like it's going to come to fruition as we go in to the week leading up to the July 4th holiday. All right, thank you for joining me. We'll update you more on at least the potential for thunderstorms later tomorrow night and Friday during our update tomorrow with Bring Me the News and Novak Weather. Have a great evening.